To my cellar. Got some things to talk about tonight, kind of reviews or plugs or recommendations, I want to say, really. Got 3 tonight. I'm going to start with the great big one because I got to lift it up here on a dolly. And that's this book, Dungeons and Dragons, Art and Arcana, A Visual History. This book's a knockout. It's an amazing color coffee table book. Shows how art's been shaped and directed by the forces of fantasy gaming. Marvelous book. They sent me an advanced copy a while back, completely out of the blue, and then they sent me the boxed one. And if you can get if this is your bag and you can get the boxed one, you got to get it. It's got an old, like a pseudo-mimeoed copy of the original Tomb of Horrors, Gary's handwritten notes and everything, and maps and neat stuff. And it's really a nice book, and I'm sure you can find it on Amazon or eBay or whatever. It's quite an investment, but it's quite a book. Second, another book. Actually, I understand there's 3 in the first release. They sent me 2. Pardon me, they sent me 2. It's called Dungeons and Dragons, A Young Adventurer's Guide. And they are brilliant. Just brilliant. Luckily, they don't rely on me to get them right. Warriors and weapons, monsters and creatures. Why are these brilliant? Let me count the ways. Hardback. Looks to be nicely bound. Hardback. There's 60 new pictures in every book. No stats, no numbers, no charts, no tables. It's just about the world of Dungeons and Dragons. Give this to a youngster of the right acquisitive age, and they will go nuts. The Beholder. Okay, I don't know how the glare is. I'm sorry if it's bad. Anyway, all these things telling you about a beholder. Things to do when you confront a beholder. Things to never do. They go into frost giant, all the species of giants, owlbears, explain all these monsters, what they are, what they do. They talk about bogs and moors and graylands and places that would be haunted. Oh man, this is some neat stuff. I'm not kidding you. I am really impressed. Now the warriors and the weapons. Truth in advertising. Got a bunch of silly classes. But hey, if they get them involved, I don't care. I just think they're silly. That's all. And if everybody else likes playing them, some of them I can't even pronounce. Who am I? I'm not judging. Now, my last review. It's documentary film called The Eye of the Beholder, The Art of Dungeons and Dragons. It is a very good film documentary. It very clearly illuminates how TSR's art evolved. Pardon me. Always happens. How TSR's art evolved and shaped popular culture around it. It's not big-headed or anything like that, okay? But it's a very, very concise and precise look at the effects. And I'm proud to call my friend David LaForce, Diesel, is in it quite a bit as kind of a narrative force because he was there a long time. The artists that they, Easley and Caldwell and Elmore and there's several others that they're after my time, but they were magnificent artists. I only have one tiny gripe with this. I'm in there a couple of snippets, maybe a minute and a half total or something. I don't know. The only thing they left out the fact that I was the one that tipped the balance to where we were going to take art, because I started buying all the art, and most of the early artists, with the exception of Dave Sutherland, who was there already before me or at me, well, we came in very much around the same time. And the majority of the early artists that TSR hired, I found, I bought their work in the magazine, and then TSR hired them away. So I felt just a tiny bit slighted, probably because I had no formal art background. Okay, what are we going to talk about now? Got the reviews out of the way. Not too many responses on the last one. I don't know. It might have been because my computer crashed. The news on the computer front is good. My IT wizard, Jen, has salvaged a whole bunch of my manuscripts. Looks like most of them. So I haven't lost the basis. Recent additions or stuff, recent work on it will remaining to be seen. It's looking better than it has since it crashed. So that's looking good. Someone made the comment that they thought wargaming went back to Kriegspiel. Well, yeah, certainly I'm aware of that. In fact, if you want to learn, if anybody is interested in learning about the roots of wargaming and then how they led into role-playing gaming and board gaming, you need to read a book called Playing at the World. It's a big bugger. And the history part is the author's my friend. I consider my friend. I think he reciprocates. The history part is a slog because it's incredibly meticulously well researched. And then when it gets up more into the dawn of the 20th century, and that it gets to be a really, really interesting read. But anyway, Kriegspiel was predated. Actually, Kriegspiel was simply the first organized set of rules to do it, but there's information and records that indicate that other people did at least in the abstract, move tokens around to plan out battles. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, Playing at the World, very good book. I'm hearing a lot of, I've heard from several organized groups that are doing therapy and work, and I'm delighted. And once I get my computer sorted out, I'll be glad to share a whole lot of information with different people. There's different groups around the country. There's a group out in Pennsylvania that I'm hoping that they can make it out to Maine when I'm out there in September, because I'd love to talk to them about some stuff they're doing, educational stuff as well as therapy. So I'm really, really delighted and gratified to see that there's more of this going on. Just something that cooked in the back of my head for a long time, but I never had the wherewithal to bake it. Let's see. All right. I had a question from a DM who said that they have trouble making their own stories their own, and in constructing a campaign, and how do you do it better, and that, and there's no magic formula, but I'd be glad to share a few ideas on how to build a campaign. And that is, you don't start by building a campaign. You start by building a really neat adventure in an area that you don't have to know more than 8 or 10 miles around, because that's your setting. Now, you get that all fleshed out and feel good about it. I predict that as you're making up your story as you go along, whether you're using a prepared module, modifying a prepared module, adventure, or simply spinning one up on your own. And spinning up one on your own, there's no sin in taking bits and pieces from things you've read and things you've seen and making them your own by spinning them together in new ways or polishing them to a different shine. That's all we had to do. That's why we published Appendix N eventually, as an homage to those books that enabled us to do what we did and capture your imagination so you could learn and enjoy how to do it also. So you start out with a really cool adventure. Now, every adventure's got a backstory, because how'd the good stuff get there? Or why is this place in ruins? And so you start out with this solid thing, and I'll bet you that along the way, by the time you get it figured, you've already answered a couple of those. How'd this get here? What's it behind it? You've thought of some ideas, weird stuff. So to go from there, as you're going through and achieving your objective that was the original point of the adventure, you throw in stuff along the way that may or may not get found that have potential hooks in it. And your players in the beginning will let you know what they want to play by how they respond to potential hooks. And it means that you can't give them a hook at the first hour of this 4-hour Saturday afternoon session. Or what am I talking about? We're all grown-ups playing now. The evening session, because you're not ready for them. But you have some ideas of where this could lead, or where that could lead, or how that got there, or whatever. And so in the early games, I think you may find, this is what I found, and which others have done this similar things, you may find that the players will let you lead them where they want to go. but you're still doing the leading. They'll tell you where they want to go. Okay, so they go there, but they go there on your terms. They go there to find what you have prepared. Campaigns come out of 2 or 3 good adventures that are related. You find something in this first neat adventure, and it's something that, 75 miles away up in the mountains, there might be something else that's cool. And that's how it goes. Or you get the old standard rumors. The point being that the players will let you know what catches their eye. And so you know now, it's called tells when you're playing poker. They'll give you tells on what catches their interest, what doesn't. What doesn't, if it's important to what you want to do, pardon me. Sorry, sugar depletion. I've got sugar-free water. If the players react to something, that's the direction you go, but you go there on your terms. I run a completely different kind of game now, where I get two things from everybody at the table, and then I make up an adventure on the spot. And I let them. My job is to lead them down the primrose path and completely disguise whatever they did so that they don't know what their stuff just killed them. Your job, on the other hand, is the complete opposite. Your job is to give them little nibbles and little tweaks and, musty scrolls and scraps of scrolls. That was one of our favorite partial scrolls that had clues. And they'd get a general idea that off this way, was something connected or whatever. Whether it was off that way on the grounds of the old temple, or it was off that way into the distance and involved a trip. But building a campaign starts with a really good adventure that's got a neat storyline and a neat payoff and dangers commensurate with their skills that poses a challenge. And then there comes another one. You don't need it all laid out in advance. Not necessary. The players will let you know. Like I said, the first one, the ruins the site 10 miles around. And then that next one, built-in portion of the blank map. And then you hear about another one and what's over here. So now they have to traverse blank portions of the maps to get there, which is outdoor adventures, or not, as you choose. Along the way, they may get sidetracked with a clue about something neater because you thought of it along the way, because it's some tells you picked up from the group. And as a DM, sometimes with your group, you need to dangle the carrot, and sometimes you have to wag the finger. Come on, here's fun. Don't overestimate it. Try that. See how it works. All right, finally. Must be why I like Escape from Dulce. We finally finished. I was on the other end of a total party kill. We were slaughtered. As written, the game greatly reminds me of the first 3 books as written. Because if you play the campaign scenario from the bottom up as it's written, and I like this game. Don't get me wrong. I'm not condemning this game. I'm saying the campaign scenario is only played by experienced players. Go learn on a couple of the short ones. In fact, if you Demented Cow guys are watching this at some point, contact me, because I want a short scenario so that I can teach this at AppleCon, because I'm already going to be teaching a couple of sessions of how to play Scythe. And I want to teach this because this is still a fun game. It's just that. We walked into stuff that just obliterated us. We didn't have any luck in finding med kits or anything like that. And then we're already chopped up, and we're down a party member. We're down to 4, and we blunder into this room that's full of these robot guards that not only emanate and give everybody a point of damage, but then 1 or 2 of them heal themselves at the end. So no matter how hard you beat on them, if you didn't kill them outright, they come back to. It was awful. But having said that, there's lots of ways to play this game, lots of ways to play it differently, lots of ways to tone these down. Okay, we're playing full bore. There's ways you can go back and play this with bigger escape kits to begin with. Much more even the odds. We went in and played at bare knuckles and got our butts handed to us. And we had fun every minute of the game. So I'm telling you, it's a fun game, well worth you're looking at. And now, I think I've run out of things, except once more to talk about AppleCon. Now, I'm not trying to gull anybody. AppleCon's not likely to be huge, right? But the reason I like cons like AppleCon, and the reason I'm going to go help Lloyd kick this off the ground and make people welcome there, is because the small cons are the beginnings of our hobby. It was 6 guys that had a shared interest that found that 5 guys, 12 miles over, also played, and that's where it started. Groups of gamers, mostly. Well, it was miniatures, because miniatures predates the wide acceptance and publication of board games. And it was miniatures clubs that well predate board game clubs. But this is it. A couple 300, I don't know, 400. I don't know what Lloyd's shooting at. But it's not the numbers. It's the camaraderie. It's the shared passion for what we do. It's the shared enjoyment of doing it together. I'm going to get to meet tons of new people because I've never been up east like that. So I'm going to get to meet tons of new gamers, and I'm expecting to see some that I've seen at Total Confusion Con down in Massachusetts, and maybe some that have traveled to other cons. But the point being, I think these cons should be supported if they're well run. And it's not to bring in dealers. If they get a couple of stores that want to come and sell their wares, or a couple of craftsmen or whatever, that's cool. It should look like as a fair, a medieval fair, a town fair. Instead of buying stuff, we're sharing stuff. We're gaming together. Instead of engaging in commerce, we're engaging in mental commerce. Fun. Shared enjoyment. So, I don't believe I've forgotten anything at all tonight. So on that note, I'll just say, Dodata Govi. Oh, hello. I'm still figuring out when this thing starts. Welcome to my cellar.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs. Still quite a feller, a curmudgeon in the cellar.
Last man around when them rates went down. Calling Gary in that Lake Geneva town. Hey Gary, it's an awful mess. Let me edit, we'll have success. D&D and Dragon Magazine.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.
Magic missile, it's a mortar shell. Make it hit in the first level spell. Brought psionics to the game to attack that wizard's brain. PSR and fantasy, collection of micro armory. Titan with tramp under a tree, high as could be.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar. Still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar. Curmudgeon.